will put you to sleep. As one person described it, preaching is the art of talking in someone else's sleep, or we start at 11 o'clock sharp and end at 12 o'clock dull. One pastor said, when my deacons fall asleep while I'm preaching, I just see it as a vote of confidence that I won't say anything heretical. That's a positive way of looking at it. And think about this. The sleeping one might be creating something good. In 1974, at the North Presbyterian Church in North St. Paul, Minnesota, one member of the congregation was Art Fry, who was having trouble focusing on the sermon, so he started to daydream. This 3M scientist was frustrated because he could not mark the hymn books without making a big mess. He devoted considerable thought to that and used the sermon time to figure out a solution. That was the day he invented Post-it notes. I'm not certain that Art told the preacher what he was doing during the sermon, but I know that his company and millions of Americans are glad he was putting the time to practical use. So the next time you see somebody dozing during a sermon, just remember that he might be coming up with the next hula hoop or Post-it notes. Personally, I'm grateful that in the church I attend, anybody who closes his eyes is either dead or dead tired. Dr. Jack Graham and our music department keep things hopping with exciting, usable, life-saving, eternity information and inspiration. On occasion, I have attended dull church services and heard dull sermons, but I have never attended a dull worship service. How can you make Jesus Christ, the creator of the universe, dull? You could never do that with the Christ I know. How could you make the one who healed the sick, raised the dead, stilled the waters, and died for my sins, dull? Mark 4:22-25 says, as a child of God, I listen to him and put into practice what I hear, so God reveals to me the things I need to do and understand. He hides these things from the non-believer and the believer who does not do what God has revealed. Persistence pays. The March 16, 1998 issue of USA Today featured an article about dieting in America. It seems that after 20 years of diet, exercise, miracle potions, and a host of gimmicks, the American people have concluded that losing weight is a lost cause for them. They take it off and put it back on. They are unhappy losing the weight, depriving themselves of their favorite foods, and then feel guilty because they regained the weight. That's a major trend among millions of Americans who are saying, to heck with it. I'm going to eat what I want and just suffer the consequences, but I'm not going to be miserable about it. That's an unfortunate approach, but I understand why they feel that way, because for many years I was on that roller coaster. A quarter of a century ago, I decided to lose weight on a gradual basis, and in a 10-month period of eating sensibly and exercising regularly, I lost 37 pounds. I averaged losing 1 9/10 ounces per day. I'll bet you just said to yourself, if you have a weight problem, I could do that. Most attempts at weight loss are undermined by unrealistic promises made about a revolutionary new approach or product that will take all the weight off permanently, and you won't even feel hungry. The real answer is a change of lifestyle, a combination of eating sensibly and exercising regularly. Benefits are enormous. On November 24th, 1999, at age 73, I stayed on the treadmill at the aerobics center more than 2 minutes longer than I was able to stay at age 45, when I weighed over 200 pounds and was terribly out of shape. I have a resting heart rate of 47. My cholesterol level was described by Dr. Larry Gibbons, the examining physician, as perfect at 156, and my blood pressure is 110/60. Those are the readings typical of a much younger man, and my enthusiasm for life grows every day. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. I am always joyful, and I always keep praying. I'm always thankful, no matter what happens, for this is God's will for me, because I belong to Christ Jesus alone. Don't be a Puritan basher. I have long been amused and amazed, but more often puzzled and even irritated at some of the comments made concerning the Puritans who settled in New England. Several years ago, I read the best book I've read in my adult life, The Light and the Glory, by David Manuel and Peter Marshall. It really is the true history of America. The authors went to the libraries at Yale and Harvard universities and read hundreds of original sermons that in those days were meticulously handwritten. Based on their research, these men painted an entirely different picture of the Puritans. They were far more fun-loving than they've been accused of being, but they insisted that the pleasures of the flesh be subordinated for and to the greater glory of God. They were not ascetics, and they never even hinted that they wanted to deny or prevent the enjoyment of earthly pleasures. Those people practiced the golden rule and shared anything they had with those who were less fortunate than they. They gave out of the very little they had, not out of an abundance. Worldly Saints by Wheaton College's Leland Ryken notes that Puritanism was a youthful, highly educated movement. The Puritans revived Cambridge University and founded Harvard only 6 years after founding the Massachusetts Bay Colony. An article in the Wall Street Journal on March 4th, 1998, stated that the Puritans consistently extolled sex within marriage. William Goes was typical in calling sex one of the most proper and essential acts of marriage, to be enjoyed with goodwill and delight, willingly, readily, and cheerfully. One congregation even excommunicated a man for sexually neglecting his wife. The conclusion I reached is this: if we all followed more of the Puritans' examples, we would have happier marriages and even more to smile about and be grateful for. Proverbs 3:16-18. My God-given wisdom gives me a long, good life, riches, honor, pleasure, peace, and living energy. Alligators and people. A zoo reveals an interesting quirk of human nature. Although you generally go to the zoo to see and learn about animals, you will learn much about people if you visit the alligator exhibit at the zoo in Houston, Texas. In no other cage will you find as many coins of all sizes and from several nations scattered throughout. Why? The possible answer lies in the sign posted near the alligator habitat by the Zoological Society requesting that money not be thrown into the alligator's water because it takes only one coin ingested by an alligator to eventually kill it. It seems that human nature is to rebel against authority. Incidentally, coins are thrown by adults as well as children, so we can't blame the coin tossing on the rebellion of youth. The unfortunate thing about this act of rebellion is that until we learn how to obey, we will never know how to lead. It's safe to say that most laws and rules passed in a democracy or an institution are for the overall good of the majority of the people. In this case, they certainly are for the good of the alligators and ultimately for the good and enjoyment of the thousands who visit the zoo. If an individual who threw a coin into the alligator habitat observed an alligator ingesting the coin and later returned to watch it die as a result, he would probably feel sadness and say, I wish I hadn't done that. Psalms 84:5. I am happy because I am strong in the Lord and want above all else to follow His steps. It's ironic. St. Patrick's Day honors the monk who took Christianity to Ireland. Unfortunately, as an article by John Lang for Scripps Howard News Service puts it, St. Patrick's Day has emerged as one of the deadliest days in the United States and is an unholy ritual of drunkenness. He goes on to say, There is a higher percentage of traffic deaths related to alcohol on this day than any other day of the year.